Hello and welcome to the Outspoken Artist. My name is Jean Carlo, and today I have the pleasure of introducing none other than Marietta Hardwick. Marietta isn't just a wonderful boudoir photographer, she is a skillful trade show director with a stellar reputation amongst the photographic community both internationally and domestically. A true connector of people and brands. Help me welcome to the show, Marietta.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, Marietta. How are you?
Good. Thank you. Very happy to be here, actually.
I know that you were traveling recently.
Yes.
Where have you been these last couple of weeks? Tennessee is one place, but where have you been traveling these last couple of
Um,
weeks?
the beginning of the month, I went to Lima, Peru. I had a wonderful time there. Then I was in Arizona for the Portrait Masters. After that, I went to Tijuana for a workshop, and it was kind of a convention/workshop for one of our ambassadors. Her name is Madeline Inez Rivera, and she's from Latinos Who Photograph. And then I came back and went to the Headshot Crew Hideaway too, which was in Tennessee, and that was amazing.
No, that's great. Yeah, as I was telling you earlier, I came across Peter Hurley's story that he was showcasing there live. And then later on that day, I see you over there and I see a little sign for Headshot Crew. I'm like, wait a minute, is Ed everywhere? You're at every show, not only in the US, but also in Latin America, which I find fascinating because just me driving down to Tampa at times seems like a hassle. Here you are, just taking a plane everywhere and doing your thing, which
If I
obviously,
didn't have a broken foot, it would be a lot more fun, but I made the
oh,
most of it. So,
that's right. Yeah, she does have a broken foot on top of all this.
yeah.
So there is that.
But
Interestingly
I
enough,
went zorbing, surprisingly enough. I went zorbing with the Headshot Crew. It was an experience of a lifetime with my broken toes. So,
that is impressive. That is impressive. And yeah, and I met you at Imaging this year,
yeah.
and it's crazy to think that it's been almost 10 months since the
Wow.
last time that I got to meet you and some of the other folks. And
Mhm.
I remember before I met you walking the expo first time at Imaging, and I see this booth with this inflatable unicorns, and I'm like, what in the world? Again, first expo for me as a photographer, and I
Mhm.
see a bunch of people there. Now recall now it's you, Justin, and Veronica, but you guys are working hard, getting that energy pumping everywhere. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is normal and photography conventions. And then by luck of the universe, Kiati had a photo shoot that I decided to tag along with Rick to help. And that's where I met you, met Justin and Veronica. And ever since then, the rest is history. I've heard so
Yeah.
many wonderful things about you from everybody that I spoke with, whether it's Rick, Kiati, everybody talks wonders about you. One particular individual calls you a firecracker, um, but loves you to death. Nonetheless, tell me a little bit about you, because not many people know that you served in the military. Which again, thank
Yes.
you for your service at
Thank
the
you.
young age of 18, and then from there you ended up picking up photography in 2013 due to life events. Share a little bit to the world what made Marietta who she is today.
Oh my gosh, so many things have made me who I am today. I mean, life is just. One of the things that I will say, and I'll rephrase this. I was at a convention not that long ago. It was in Tijuana, and my ambassador had this really incredible life story. And at the end, or her message was that um, the challenges that you face in life are actually opportunities to succeed in them. Yes, I joined the Marine Corps and I broke my pelvic bone, and I wasn't able to actually stay in the Marine Corps, unfortunately. I am also a Navy wife of many years and a Navy ex-wife, don't ask. But I worked in the financial sector in a Fortune 10 company. And after the Depression of 2008, I had to turn into actually a caregiver for my mother, who had suffered from 6 strokes and was in a vegetative state. So I took care of my mother and my father, who later had dementia. So when my mother passed away, I finally started taking her advice in life and saying, hey, just follow your dreams. And I did. And I always wanted to be a National Geographic photographer ever since I could remember, between that and architecture. And I didn't follow any of them. I did operations management and marketing. And I just was always good at sales. So I pursued that as the career, financial sales is my career. And I wasn't really happy at all. I was taking care of my children. I was getting divorced. I had so many things going on. And I grabbed that camera for the first time again, and the rest is history. I loved it. And that evolved into trying out every genre that I possibly could. And I ended up with boudoir because it's just such a life changing experience for the person that you actually do it for. And lo and behold, years later, I on and off, very boutique because I didn't really have a lot of time. My father passed away in 2018, my stepdad, and I felt like I needed to evolve. I needed to change. I needed to learn more about the craft, even more than I knew, and learn from greats that I admired. And my husband's like, yeah, get out of your funk. You're going to grieve for a very long time, but let's move forward with your business and your career. And he was just my cheerleader 100%. And I ended up at WPPI my first time. And was printing with a photo lab from Canada. Long story short, I had ordered from the European companies and from other companies. And I just got the feeling that I was like too much of a small potato for them. And the customer service wasn't there. And on my first order with UAF, I remember the owner calling me and saying, "Hey, your screen isn't really calibrated right." I mean, for the owner of the company to call you and say, "Your screen isn't really calibrated right," and like, I feel like, we could do better. Let me just fix it for you. And he did. And then he sent it out very much on time. It was an amazing experience. So I thought, let me meet those people at the WPPI. And I went to their booth and I got along so well with the staff that when push came to shove, there was a position that was open for the trade show director. And they were like, we liked your energy. I stepped in for the trade show director at that time who got sick, and I organized their booths a little bit, and they were very grateful. And when I came home, COVID hit like shortly, after, and turns out that they needed a trade show director because the opening came out and they offered it to me. And the rest is history. I mean, I've been doing it for just a relatively short amount of time, but it seems like forever.
That's crazy how things happen and
Yeah.
little events lead you to that. And pursuing your passion of photography, even if it isn't National Geographic, uh,
No.
which I think you'd be great at it. You have an eye, so I think you'd be great at it. That little by little led to the steps, and this fell on your lap. And go figure, is something that you're really, really good at.
Uh,
Because
yeah, go figure. They seem to think I'm pretty good at it.
I think it's the fact that I think I said it in the beginning, which is you connect people, you connect brands, you're really good at networking, but also the personality radiates that makes it really easy to talk to you, and people listen.
I
And
hope so.
as far as I know, when we were talking before, that first trade show was literally you practically almost did everything yourself. Is that true?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That first trade show during COVID was actually a virtual trade show, and I didn't like. They were like, "Could you manage that?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure. I'll give it a try." And yeah, I did everything for the virtual trade show, and for the in-person trade show, I had a wonderful partner who assisted me at that time. She's no longer with the company, but she's very missed. But yeah, it's a small time operation, and you just have to like continually go at it. You just throw yourself at it and wing it until you make it. I was fortunate enough that I have some really great vendor reps that I know that were not afraid to show me the ropes, and I'm never afraid to ask. So
That's good.
I was like, how do you do this? How do you do that? How do you do this? How do you do that? And a lot of the organizers for the events are amazing people, and they're there to help too. And I was never really afraid to like ask for help or negotiate for this or just voice an opinion. And I guess they value that. I mean, it's refreshing to just be honest within the industry. I really believe that that's key.
I would agree. Even in corporate world, a lot of yes people. People say yes and they just follow along. And sometimes that can lead down a road where there's not a lot of progress because people think that everything's fine when somebody should have just asked a question or brought an opinion. And in the case of trade shows, you were able to pick up the knowledge that you had because of the fact that you were just asking questions because you wanted to know. And I'm sure people that maybe not had the answer to your question probably reached out to other folks and got the answer for you. I think
Oh yeah, I've been very fortunate that if people don't have the answers that I'm looking for, they go out of their way to just find them for me, and I'm very grateful. I feel very blessed about that.
when it comes to trade shows, I know that you also do work for Aftershoot, and we can touch a little bit more on that afterwards. I'm
Mhm,
curious, what are some misconceptions from the outside in? Because for me, take the example, I'm a photographer. I just came to imaging. I'm
mhm.
seeing all these trade shows. What is normally the behind the scenes to make it possible? Like, how much prep work are
Oh
you
my
talking about in regards to make something? Because some of the expo booths are small, some of them are gigantic. What
yes.
is the logistics behind all of that?
It really depends on the booth size. I will tell you that if you see a booth at a convention center and the booth is bigger than 8 by 8, be very grateful and gracious to those vendors because that company has worked probably 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months, maybe the planning was 11 months before. When they
Wow.
finish the other show, that's when they're planning for the next show because the ideas and the brainstorming actually have to occur before it happens. I am lucky that both my companies are relatively small and they have relatively small booths, and I'm not going insane. But I am currently curating for imaging and WPPI for both my booths right now in my head. And I've got to put my ideas on paper this weekend because I'm traveling again. So, yeah.
Is that enough time? Imaging is in January. You said 5 to 6 months.
Uh, for UAF, it's a little bit difficult because I curate every single piece of artwork that's on those walls. It's from beginning to end, and there might be a redesign. You'd have to check it out at the booth at Imaging to see. And for Aftershoot, I can tell you right now, I've got a lot of ideas in my head. Let's see if it happens, if it comes to fruition. But one of those misconceptions is that, a trade show is pretty easy to put on. I think it's a lot more complicated. There's a lot of logistics behind the scenes from, architects that are, implementing the booth design or designers to, carpenters that come in that same day to people who are working, the electric, the carpets, the cleanup, everything that goes into that. It's an effort. And it's a coordination that you have to have considerably before time.
You mentioned all these other moving pieces. I didn't even think about it. Carpenters, people laying down the carpet and whatnot. Is that something that every vendor has to hire for the convention? Or is that something the event location allows you to hire from them? How does that work?
It depends. Like, for example, a show as big as Imaging is or a WPPI, a lot of the convention centers have their established vendor for when it comes to that, or their established company for that. In the event of WPPI, I think it's Shepherd as well, or Emerald, it's Shepherd. And that company, and sometimes it's a union company, all right, or they're unioned, they go ahead and they supply all of the logistical efforts, but it comes down to like an ordering system that you have to do. You have to deadlines for each one of the processes that you're going to have. And if you don't actually comply, there are moments where you won't be able to acquire any of it. So,
Wow. A lot of moving parts. I'm not surprised. It's just you don't see it. You only
well,
see the
you
end
don't,
result.
because you're there to have an experience of a lifetime. A lot of people don't go to these shows on a yearly basis. They've saved up their pennies, they're doing the different classes, they're doing absolutely everything. And the vendors are there to make it happen. For example, I dressed up like an astronaut at Imaging last year on the
I
first day
remember that. I remember
because
that.
you do what you must for the companies that you represent, and I wanted the experience to be fun. You do want booth traffic, that's the goal, to increase booth traffic. But Aftershoot is one of those companies where you have so much fun representing the brand, and it's such a fun brand to represent that why not get into the spirit of it all just for the person who's attending. I tend to think of it that way.
So tell us, what is Aftershoot?
Aftershoot is the premier AI culling and editing software. It's a software that helps all of us photographers, all of us indecisive culling photographers and editors, to make their life easier and get their time back. Especially for someone like me, I am an extremely indecisive color. I've said this a million times. And I don't enjoy the act of culling because I have 5 kids, 2 dogs, a fish, and a husband. So, and I rep 2 companies. So I don't necessarily have time for virtually anything. And after shoot, I just set it, forget it. It's cold. And then I also don't have enough time to build a profile. So the great thing is that after shoot has pre-built profiles that I can use. And
And the
I
more
love.
you use it, it gets to know you more, right? The more
Oh yeah,
you
yes, I mean, I could go into like a whole lunch and learn on this,
right.
because it does learn on your particular style. The more that you use it, the more that you actually. The most important thing is to select that genre initially. You know, the genre that you're working with is extremely important. The algorithm is based on the genre, and then you can customize it. And the more you customize it and tell it how you want, whether it's moderate, whether it's everything else, every single time that you upload something after that, it goes ahead and it's learning actively from you. It's selective AI. It's not generative like Midjourney or something like that, but it's really impressive. I've owned it since 2021, and I didn't work with the company until late in 2023. Oh, 2022, I'm sorry. And I can tell you that I vouch for it because I used it. I bought it, sight unseen. The first time I saw them, I was like, I've got to have that. And they've done nothing but improve through the years. So,
Yeah, I wish I had it when I was doing wedding photography many years ago because it would have saved me so much time. And question for you, given that event that just happened at Pigeon Forge with the headshot crew,
uh-huh.
is that now something that Aftershoot is able to help headshot photographers and people that do that type of
Yes, there
volume
is
work?
a genre that says portraits and headshots. If
Okay.
you go into the latest iteration or the latest update, you will see that there is a headshots and portraits. We strive at Aftershoot to really listen to the feedback that the photographer, because we're there for photographers so that the photographer presents, and there was a demand for headshots. It's one of those things. If you do like same day, if you do corporate headshots where you might have like 150 people that are getting done, headshots actually pay attention to each and every individual face, and there's a grouping in regards to that. It's pretty amazing how our product and development team is. So
That's
I
great. I
it's
like that.
not a secret sauce, but it's definitely good for headshots. Like that's what I could say.
I'll have to check it out again. I checked it out a couple of months back and I was impressed. I mean, I threw photos in there just to see what would happen. But the
Mhm.
fact that it's for headshots, that helps me because that's what I do. So,
Oh, so you're a headshot photographer. Oh, that's
yeah.
fantastic. I have newfound respect for that because I had to get in front of the lens uh, this time around. I always I always help my friends, and my friend Sharon asked me to get in front of the camera, and that is that technique that Peter has is just completely out of this world. I was like, wow, my neck hurts. I'm like, am I crooked? Am I this? Am I that? What's the angle? And it was pretty impressive. I was like, oh my gosh, headshots are so much more difficult than I thought. I mean, like in that precise context, I found it fascinating. So,
Yeah, Peter's got a really neat layout for his lights, but he's also really great at direction. And he's
mhm,
got, what to do with the eyes, what to do with this. He's really good at that. And yeah, the uncomfortable aspect of it, especially as a photographer at times, having to get in front of the camera. I would
mhm.
have to give this quote to Gary Hughes, who said that headshot photographers are the dentist of photographers because nobody really wants to get a headshot taken. So you better do it quick because you don't want your dentist taking his sweet old time. Just get it
Mhm.
done fast and get it done right. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I do. I do volume headshots. Most people see my creative work on Instagram, but I do volume headshots. That's what I do.
Wow. Well, I am going to be doing headshots shortly for my husband's job or my husband's company. So I will tell you how that goes because I mean, obviously, I know how to do headshots, but I'm like, I took a lot of pointers and tips from this last time. And I was like, wow, okay, let me try it.
Well, if you have any questions, feel free to send me any questions. I'll gladly give you
Oh,
any tips that I picked up along the way.
I'll do
Um,
that for sure.
for after shoots, I believe they have a 30-day trial, correct?
Yes, they do. They have a free 30-day trial. It's amazing. You can do unlimited editing and unlimited culling for free for 30 days and play with it and see whether it's right for you. And then after that, it's got a whole new pricing model because it's out of beta, and it's got 4 different types of programs, each one to suit whatever needs you may have as far as editing and culling. So if you only need culling, it's one different thing. But if you need edits, their editing is pretty impressive. I would give them a shot.
Very nice, very nice. And we're not sponsored, by the way, from Aftershoot. This is just it's a really great program. And
Where I could tell you, no, you're not sponsored, and no, you're not our brand ambassador. But I'll think about that. And I can tell you that it is really a good program. Like I said,
yeah,
I owned it for years before I even started working for them. So if you like something that much that you'd start working for them, it says a lot
yeah, yeah,
about the
absolutely. I'm also all for saving time. We're all busy, especially when we have kids and other responsibilities. It's any
Yes.
time you can save is great. Wanted to ask you some questions. If anybody is looking to start from zero, let's
Mhm.
say they're in a similar journey or a different journey, but they see what you do and they want to pursue that type of career based on
Uh-huh.
what you know now, because you've been doing this for a couple of years. What would be some great suggestions for anybody looking to start in the trade show world?
Stay humble. Stay really humble. Work really hard. Keep your head down. Don't get it in it because of egos or, a trip or a power trip or anything like that. It's a job, just like any other job. It's a photographic industry job, and it comes with a lot of perks. But stay humble, stay true. Don't just go in it for greed or just to move on or just for influence or anything else like that, and work hard for the companies that you represent. Give it your all at all times. And if it's the initial thing, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid that there are so many big companies out there, that there are so many larger than life personalities within all these companies' booths. They are just like you. Being starstruck isn't going to help you because you're just doing your job, and you at the end of the day make friends, network yourself appropriately. Don't be afraid to network yourself with the people that you once admired or see as like these larger than life personalities. That's all I can say, and they're very ready and willing for the most part to help you. Like, they are so ready and willing. All you need to do is ask. Like,
That's
not
good.
be afraid.
No, that's
I
good. That's good. Are there any unwritten rules in regards to, what you shouldn't be doing in the trade shows, such as poaching or anything like that? Anything
Oh,
that
yeah. Try not to poach. I mean, that's not a rule. Let's be realistic. I am not the ambassador, representative for Aftershoot, as of this moment, as far as I know. I can always recommend ambassadors to the company, but our strategic, partnership and ambassador director is Veronica Benson, and she's fabulous at what she does. Uh, I can tell you that she's not a poacher, but she's definitely hardcore, hardlining. So I do that for UAF Photo Lab. So I'm very conscientious not to poach other companies' representatives. That's just my moral high ground. But I don't frown upon other people's hustle. I mean, like, a hustle is a hustle, and you kind of have to do. I think that what's frowned upon the most is just trying to take advantage of another company. Like, I'm not the type of person that'll go to a fellow vendor and go, "Hey, I want your product and I want it for free." I think that's kind of one of those things that I would be like, yeah, if that person offers it and I really like the product, I'm not going to say no. Like, deep down
true?
inside, I'm going to be like, yes. But I mean, like, asking for those kind of favors and that kind of stuff, that's a no no in my book. I just don't like it. That's my personal preference. I don't care. Like, if you're brand partners and you're trying to give me your stuff or I'm trying to offer you mine. Yeah, because we work together within the industry just to make the industry better. I have some really great brand partners, so I can't complain.
That's good. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Hmm.
One question before I move more into the international market.
Hmm.
Portrait Masters just happened last month, and
Hmm.
I the news that they're integrating with WPPI is happening. What are your thoughts in regards to what might come from that junction? What do you
Oh
think?
my God, that's a little bit complicated for me because that's one big trade show in my head. You know, in my head as a vendor, how long am I going to have to stay in Vegas? That's what I want to know. At, at a certain point in time, you're Vegas out, and or you are showed out. So there are a certain amount of days that you could do it and just be very okay. After a week's time, you're pretty much kind of fried because, especially me, my voice goes at each one of these shows. I'm talking about the big ones. Like my
Right.
voice is gone by day two of the show. So I'm not necessarily the happiest human when I don't have a voice or, everybody's getting sick. But I think that the show's going to be spectacular. You have two powerhouse shows with two very different demographic or target markets. And just putting them together might be the blend or the infusion that the industry needs to create like a super mega show like it used to be back in the day.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's funny. I was thinking to myself, okay, 2023, the year I'm gonna make it to Portrait Masters. And I'm like, okay, now it's gonna have to be next year. And then I'm told, no, it's all merging. I'm like, of course,
I
of course.
know.
But it
Portrait
looks
Masters is a show unto itself. It, it,
yeah.
it is a great show. It was fantastic this year as
At
well.
least I won't have to worry about attending one or the other, right? Now they're all gonna be
Right.
part of
But
one. So
now you're going to have to brace yourself and pack like a super suitcase for like the 5,000 events that are going to go on between WPPI and the Portrait Masters and say bye-bye to your wallet because the vendors are going to come in full force,
uh
show their best,
jeez, that's right. Yeah, I had to set a budget specifically just for spending and then stick to the budget. That was what it was, sticking to the budget. Don't go beyond
That's
that
a
budget.
hard thing to do. Trust me when I tell you that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're looking at all the amazing things that like the vendors are bringing. I mean, they bring their A game on for these specifically. So I felt tempted on some stuff at the Portrait Masters this year, and I was like, "Don't do it, Marietta! Don't do it! Just don't even look." So yes, I know. Even for a vendor, that's a hard thing.
Yeah.
If you're a vendor and a photographer at the same time, you're looking. You are definitely looking.
Yeah, Tether Tools got the best of me at imaging because for the headshots, they showed me, oh, look, we can take all your stuff and put it into this nice little package here. You can have your computer, your lights, your this. And I'm like, dang it. I'm like, all right, take my money. Let's go. Let's do this.
Exactly. See, that's why one of those rules for vendors is kind of put blinders on. You're like, yeah. If you're a photographer, put blinders on. Just don't do it. Don't do it. Like I
Yeah.
made the mistake of stopping at a booth this year, and not to say hello or anything else, but stopping at a booth just to look at it. And I was like, don't do it, Marietta, don't. So
Yeah.
I was good, but only because my luggage was kind of heavy. So
I'm glad I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one.
you're not.
S- Speaking of conventions,
Yes.
outside of the United States, most of the conventions I initially knew this year were all within the United States. But in talking with you, you're telling me the South American market and Central American market is really thirsty, is booming with first of all their talent of
Mhm.
photography down there. It's fascinating, especially out of Mexico, Brazil, Argentina. All these places are they're just littered with a bunch of different fantastic artists.
Yes.
How's the expo, the community, the photography community down there? What's been your experience like traveling to these countries?
My experience, limited as it may be, no, I'm just kidding. I believe that there's this thirst for knowledge, this thirst for you know, really understanding in-depth photography, in-depth creativity. Um, the community is wanting to be recognized. The artistry there is amazing, but they're relative unknown because they're not being catered to. They're not being actively pursued. One of the things that I admire about Aftershoot. It's that it's really trying effectively to market to the entire world and to recognize that there are photographers with talent all over the world that need our product. Um, it's an incredible market with not as much camaraderie as I would have thought, because there's this inherent competition still there. But again, those are growing pains. It's just I see a little bit more camaraderie and spirit within the US market than the Latin American market, but it's not that. I just think it's an evolution of the process, and they're just not there yet. I also think that there's tight knit communities, but you have to notice that Latin America in general, I mean, those are 18 to 19 different countries that are of Hispanic or considered LATAM, and they're all culturally diverse.
Yes.
So you have to notice that yes, every single one is its own planet, like I call it, its own community, and has its own little quirks. But deep down inside, everybody's interested in the success of photography. That's I think the common denominator, how photography can be still at the forefront.
And Latin America and Central America are very brand loyal. It's just not a lot of brands are catering to them.
Hmm.
What is the biggest reservation for some of these perhaps larger companies for entering that market? What do you think it's making them not want to necessarily make the leap down there, whereas companies like Aftershoot and some other ones are actually servicing the
Hmm.
people that are down there?
Well, I think that Aftershoot prides itself in helping or assisting the photographic community in general. It was made by photographers for photographers. Its main mission, I mean, okay, every company wants to be profitable. Let's be real. I'm
True.
not gonna lie. I'm sure that that's like deep down inside what, guides a lot of companies. But that's not Aftershoot's primary mission. It's to service photographer needs. And I think one of the things that bigger companies forget is the fact that they are so brand loyal that they will go ahead and save their pennies and purchase anything that's a little bit too out of their budget or anything else. I think that a lot of it has to do with importation rules and or politics or just economic rulings over the way that things can actually go into a country. There are countries that have, importation rules that you can only use a distributor. You can't actually just present it directly. So those things, I mean, putting people in contact with other people so that you could actually serve the community. I don't think it's a matter of, like, for example, if you're going to serve the Argentinian market, it's almost an impossibility because they will tax something at 120% level.
Oof.
So you're not necessarily going to be able to break in if something's $5,000, but it'll cost that person $10,000. It just makes things a little bit more difficult. And I think a
Yeah.
lot of different companies kind of stand back and go, oh, it's not necessarily a market that we want to service because it's going to be too hard to do so. Whereas Aftershoot is priding itself in being an international company, in taking care of photographers because we're made by photographers. We take photographers into account wholeheartedly when it comes to our product and our product's development. So why not serve the entirety of the world? I mean, the sky's the limit when you come to AI. It's just in its infancy, and early adopters are going to be at the forefront of what the future of photography looks like, regardless of what it may be. Just the fact that we take that into consideration, there's photographers all over the world. Why not?
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And some of these photographers, you were telling me that you were there at Mexico when Mexico won the photographic award. How was that experience? Because I know that culturally, I'm sure that was just a phenomenon down there.
That was insane. I had a wonderful time there, and they had just won the Photographic World Cup, and they were bringing the cup over to Masterclass Mexico, and it was so impressive. I mean, like in the middle of the trade show floor, they brought like a 20-piece mariachi band, and it was like paraded all around, and it is just so vibrant. I can't hardly explain how vibrant and proud they are of their accomplishments when it comes to things of that nature. It was really impressive. I can tell you, I haven't had a bad trade show yet. Every single trade show, every single event that I go to is absolutely fascinating. I take away so many great experiences from each.
For anybody interested in trade shows outside of the United States and let's say maybe in the Central America or South America region, what are some maybe 3 or 4 trade shows you might recommend they might want to look into?
Oh my gosh, definitely Masterclass Mexico. There's several expos in Brazil that are fantastic and have a lot of turnout and show. If you want, I can give you a list of those later.
Okay.
I know there are several in the UK, especially Click Live next year, that I'm really looking forward to having Aftershoot and UAF participate in. So, I mean, there's a list. I mean, Masterclass Mexico is definitely a must, but I think in Congreso Nomade in Argentina, it's put up by my ambassador Maxi Oviedo, and he's such a gracious human being that he donates the proceeds of that to charity,
That's
and
good.
they're very well thought of charities. And he has a lineup second to none within Latin America. So, I mean, there are many that I can mention, but I like the smaller workshops and such. So, I mean, the last Peruvian one that I went to was very nice as well.
I know both you and I speak Spanish. What's the language barrier for some of these? Are people who don't speak the language able to go and still enjoy it, or should you probably have some grasp of the language?
There's an advantage to knowing the language. Of course, there's an advantage to knowing the language. I don't think they'd throw me out there to the wolves, maybe with a translator if I didn't know. I mean, I'm going to have to learn some Portuguese here the next year. I think I'm going to have to plug in on one of those websites and do it. But I think that if you don't know the language, they're just so ready to help you. I think that they don't know initially that I know the language, so they're really trying in English. And a lot of these places know English. Is it better to know the language? Yes, certainly. But if you want to have a fun time with a group of incredible photographers that'll show you the craft, you could definitely travel. I
Th-
mean, there's some really great conferences.
Well, that's great. That's great. That way people know that there's more out there than just the United States. I'm sure there's things in I'm sure Canada probably has trade shows as
Canada
well.
just had a show not that long ago. Justin and Veronica actually went, and they have several, smaller conferences for incredibly talented individuals. I mean, these are people who are just breaking rules and just showing incredible art. I believe it was Focal that was recently, and I would have probably loved to have gone, but I was at another conference because, well, duh. And I mean, Canada has some great shows that if you want beautiful scenery with some incredible nature shots or just couple shots within like amazing scenic backgrounds or backdrops, yeah, need not say more. England the same, there are some really prestigious photographers who are incredibly talented that are willing to teach at SWPP, different trade shows in England that are very big in size, and there are international print competitions for those shows as well. If you're missing the international competition kind of thing going on, yeah, there's a variety of shows that you should go to. It doesn't mean that it just has to be Latin America and you should know the lingo. There's plenty of English speaking places that have shows as well.
No, that's great. That's really great. Um, One final takeaway on trade shows. What advice would you give to anybody? Take my example that I went to imaging for the first time. A
Mhm.
photographer goes to one of these expos and they're by themselves, they're not with a group. What would you recommend? What is some good advice for them to make the best out of the expo? Should they
I
go
went
this way?
alone to my first expo. I was alone, completely alone. My husband didn't go with me. I didn't go with photographer friends. I didn't know anybody that was going at that time, so I went solo. This is my best advice. Don't be intimidated to make friends. We're all in the industry together. Get yourself into one of the pre-con classes, let's say. All right. Pre-con is pre-conference for like the lingo. And get yourself into a class with like-minded people that want to learn the same types of things that you want to learn. And don't be afraid to make friends. Don't be on your phone constantly. Don't be on your phone trying to like figure it out. Put yourself into one of the groups, like the Facebook groups or Instagram groups or anything else like that, that you could possibly find like-minded individuals that are going. Or, one of your mentors might have an educational group. Get into that educational group and make friends there, virtual friends, and then find people there. Find people. Don't be afraid to find people and find connections, because that's what it's all about. It's about the networking. You end up with a ton of friends, like you did.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can attest to that. I went not knowing anybody, and I met wonderful people from your side, and I met some wonderful people from Alabama as well that were so welcoming. And I met them through a pre-con class. Go figure.
See?
Go
See, that's
figure.
all the advice I could ever give. Go into a pre-con class, get yourself out there, and get off your phone.
Yeah. Oh,
Unless it's
God,
for
yeah.
taking pictures and content, because I'm terrible at that.
True. Great advice. Great advice. Okay, before we wrap up, wanted
Mhm.
to ask you, would you, because I asked him the same question to our friend Rick Lewis, give us a little bit of an insight of your experience with Rick Lewis and Kayla Douglas.
Oh my gosh. All right. Um, they're incredible people. I met them not this year at Portrait Masters, but last year at Portrait Masters. And like a lot of people, I don't know if you know, but I do get asked to get in front of the camera a lot during these events. And I don't get used to it at all. And there's a no from my lips way more than there's a yes. But there was just something about those two that just, I said, sure, I'll do it on the last day for you. And he was the only person there were two people that I posed for at the Portrait Masters. And he was just gracious enough to pose me with peacock feathers of all things. And I felt really, really special. And it was just like an instant connection. It was fantastic. And their product is just so high quality, and they're just such great human beings that it was kind of a no-brainer when I was looking for brand partnerships or just to establish better brand partnership opportunities, or expand them when I got the chance to just add them to companies that I trust and that I implicitly believe in, not just because of their product. Their product is top notch. I mean, everything
It
that
is.
they do with pride and with conviction. I mean, they're amazing. But because as human beings, they are and they believe in what I believe within the industry. How do we make the industry better? How do we work together to make the industry what we want it to be? How do we mold the industry into something better for all of us, not just for a certain segment of the photographic market or niche, but for all of us? How do we bring forth something that makes everything better? They have a tangible product, and we have tangible software, obviously. So it was kind of like a given, that just nice humans working together to make it all better.
No, that's great. I like Rick's comment quote where he states that he does not have competitors. He instead has peers with different skill sets,
Yes,
and I
I
think that's fair.
I I believe such is the case. If anybody knows me within the trade show industry, they know that I am a fervent believer of community over competition. I will not state that we are better than, we are this, we're that. Everybody can choose who they want. I suggest that you use my products and my services and my software because I believe in them fervently. I mean, if I didn't, I wouldn't put my face to it. So I think that we're all in it together, and community over competition is definitely the goal. And if I have like minded brand partners, then it makes it all better. And yes, that quote is absolutely the case. We all have different skill sets, it's all a different type of product, even if you have a direct competitor. I'm actually friends with direct competitors all the time, of reps for those companies. Why not? I'm not going to be like corporately espionaging things. I just want to make friends. It's hard. We're all in this together. Why
Right.
not do it the right way?
I agree. And to your point earlier about ego, I have this belief that ego is what poisons a community.
Mhm.
And when you don't let your ego drive you, you're able and allow yourself to be surrounded with people that are most likely going to be there cheering you on versus trying to step on you. So that's just
Yeah,
what I believe in.
I'm a very lucky gal. I've got really great people that I meet all the time, and I just, like as you said to me when we had a conversation not that long ago, and I was mentioning it to Jason Group as well in my podcast with him. Um, yeah, I'm really self-deprecating, and I have to start, kind of noticing what other people notice in me, but I think it's basically because I grew up with the non-ego kind of mentality. So I'm just like, like I'm just chill. I'm just Etta. And they're like, that's not what you are. You're not just Etta. So, it's good to just be humble. Just stay that way. It's hard work. We got to do it and just do it well. And hopefully the industry sees it.
Amen. Amen to that. Well, if you want to follow Etta on Instagram, I put it earlier, but I'll put it up again.
And
Etta,
hopefully I'll fill it with more content. Like I'm really crossing fingers. I might have to hire someone.
you got to do what you got to do. Nonetheless, also on Facebook, although I don't have it in here. Yeah, Instagram's a great way to follow her. And are you going to any shows? I know imaging is one of them, but what are some of the possible shows people may find you in the next couple
I am
months?
going to be in a couple of days at the Photo Cookout in New Orleans. It is the premier
Ooh,
Black Photographer Conference. And then I will be at AIBP, which is the Boudoir Photographers, International Association of Boudoir Photographers convention in Boston in early November. And then I'm going to be at the Peculiar Collective as well, enjoy my time with the Peculiar Collective group and showcasing another wonderful segment of the market. They are incredibly all amazing conferences, and you'll find me there until the end of the year. Who knows where I'll end up in the middle of that? But definitely pay attention to where I'll be because imaging and WPPI is just scratching the surface on that.
yeah, I'll definitely most likely see you at imaging because as it stands right now, that's my plan to make it over there. I already set my budget of how much I'm going to spend this time around because they do offer some great discounts actually when you're
They
there. If you try,
do.
yeah, the discounts are worth it.
These show specials are amazing. One of the things that I do recommend if you go to a conference, don't skip the trade show.
Yeah,
Don't skip the trade show. Don't just schedule yourself with 50,000 classes and not show up to the trade show. We as vendors pride ourselves so much in bringing some seriously great products, innovative ideas, great contests, amazing giveaways, and some serious merch for you. So a lot of that is just something that I would keep in mind. Go to
I would
that trade
agree.
show, but attend the conference at the same time. It's like a happy medium.
Yeah, I'm already eyeballing new lighting, so either Westcott or something. I'm gonna one or the other. We'll
You
figure out.
do know that this is the greatest thing for me. I am a fervent supporter of my brand partners at Aftershoot. We are partnered with Gikoto Lighting, and we love it. All
Oh
right.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, they have some wonderful portable lighting.
Yes. So you might want to check that out. And at UAF, and this is like one of those things, my lighting company there is Stella Pro. So I will have I vouch for both those companies. And, the Stella Pro booth is amazing as well as the Gikoto one. So just don't discard it for the bigger brands. Not that I'm knocking Westcott at all. They're incredible. Godox is right there as well. And Pro Photo, if you can rock that budget, go ahead and do that, right? Like they're second to none. But I've got my companies that I support, and both of those companies are amazing. And Gikoto is, without a shadow of a doubt, an incredible company to look at. So you might want to stop by those booths.
I'll definitely stop by, especially Stella has the underwater lights for my underwater portraits, and
Hmm.
that's gonna be something that I'm gonna be eyeballing because I would like to bring some really high quality lighting for the chaos that is underwater photography. So
Yeah, and as far as underwater photography goes, if you ever see a class with Karen Bagley, she has an underwater certification course going on. You might want to look at that as well.
okay, I'll make sure to make a note of that.
All right.
What else? I don't have any other questions for you right now.
All
Etta,
right.
do you have any questions or anything that I should have asked you that I forgot to ask you?
No, actually, you've been pretty comprehensive here. I mean, I'm kind of like blushing a little bit, and that's not really blush right there. So, um, you definitely asked a lot of great questions. I'm super honored that you even considered me. Like I said, I always think I'm small potatoes. So,
Stop it.
um, yeah, I know, I know. I'm trying to be good. But I'm really, really grateful. Thanks. Thanks for
No,
everything.
I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're very busy. Obviously, you're flying all over the place, and you're also with a boot on at times. So I hope you
It's
recover.
most of the time. I took it off for this, so in case I walked away, I wouldn't look like a dork. So,
Well,
yes,
thank you again for joining the
thank you.
podcast, and I can't wait to showcase it with everybody so they can learn more about you, and I can't wait to come across you at imaging.
Thank you. If you guys come across me, come say hi. I'm really approachable, surprisingly enough. Unless
Cheers.
like if you see me with like super walking somewhere or carrying something or escorting a model or something, that means that I'm in my jam. But if you see me around, just come say hi and carry on a conversation. I love to meet people.
I would attest to that. Marietta, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful day and safe travels.
Thank you so much.
Take
Mwah.
care.
Have a great
Bye
one.
bye.
Bye bye.